President Muhammadu Buhari unveils a newly redesigned naira to begin circulation immediately. The Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) removes all Know Your Customer limits on deposits. The federal government, through the Debt Management Office (DMO), has offered for subscription 100 billion naira sukuk for roads and bridges. And of course, from the global scene, stocks struck Wall Street as a sell-off in US dollar extends. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Katung, Babatunde, your guide. It is a bright and beautiful morning from the nation's capital city, and we start by informing you that President Muhammadu Buhari has unveiled the new CBN redesigned currency, the Naira notes, in the series of 200, 500 and 1,000. The president, who performed the official launch of the redesigned Naira notes, said the need to take control of the nation's currency in circulation as well as address the hoarding of Naira banknotes outside the banking system is urgent.
The new Naira banknotes have been fortified with security features that make it difficult to counterfeit. These new banknotes will help the central bank design and implement better monetary policy objectives. They will also enrich our collective memory of Nigeria's heritage.
This policy will help to control inflation, as the exercise will bring the hoarded currency back into the banking system, help in increasing financial inclusion, moving towards a more cashless economy, and ensuring greater formalization of the Nigerian economy. The currency redesign would assist in the fight against corruption, as the exercise would rein in the higher denomination used for corruption, and the movement of such funds from the banking system could be tracked easily by the relevant security agencies.
And we remain with that sector, and we'll also bring you information that of the 2.7 trillion naira circulating outside the banking system, just about 165 billion naira is what has been collected so far by the Central Bank of Nigeria as at November 18, 2022. The Apex Bank also said it has removed all limits in terms of Know Your Customer KYC on deposits, and this was part of the post-MPC media session.
We also need to do what we need to do to sanitize the market so that government can also in the future have a domestic source where it can raise the funds. Because, like I said, so long as we have in a negative real interest rate margin, even domestic saving mobilization will thin out.
This exercise is not an exchange program. It's not that you bring 10 million naira, we give you 10 million naira. What I say is that put your money in your account. Use all the available channels we have, including the e-naira. 95% of what we have received out of 165 billion is only in two denominations, 1,000 and 500. Because if you see 1,000 is like 86 billion.
Okay, the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, has shared 736.782 billion naira October 2022 Federation Accounts revenue to the federal government, states, and local government councils. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of the Federation Accounts meeting for November in Abuja. The amount comprised distributable statutory revenue of 417.724 billion naira, distributable value-added tax revenue of 213.238 billion naira, exchange gain revenue 5.775 billion naira, and 100 billion naira augmentation from non-oil revenue. The balance in the excess crude account now stands at $472,513.64. A statement by Henshaw Gubike, Director Information, Press and Public Relations, show that in the month of October 2022, value-added tax and companies' income tax increased significantly, while oil and gas royalties, petroleum profit tax, import duty recorded considerable decreases. However, excess duty increased marginally. Now, the federal government, through the Debt Management Office, DMO, has offered 100 billion naira to Cook bonds under the Ministry of Works and Housing and the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking on the offering in Abuja, Patience Oniya, DG of the DMO, says the local borrowing will be used to finance roads and bridges as captured in government's infrastructure plan.
But the Sukuk has the added advantage that it is financing infrastructure. We're driving retail investors and then promoting financial inclusion, meaning those people who have investable funds but haven't had securities that are acceptable for them to invest in, find the Sukuk, that product where they can invest and earn some money. So overall, we're specifically borrowing to fund infrastructure, but we're also developing the markets and giving people more investment opportunities.
Now, it is the Maiden Export Week put together by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC. And this week we had the Executive Director of the NEPC, Ezra Yakusak, in the studio, and he told me something profound. Rice is still on Nigeria's export ban list. What does that mean? Let's take that discussion. COVID-19 till date, we've seen non-oil exports. The sector, of course, has recorded some appreciable growth. All right.
Yes.
What is the trigger?
Well, there are so many factors that trigger that growth. One of it, I must say, is in 2021, the federal government granted or issued a grant of about 50 billion naira to the NEPC. The grant was to cushion the effect of COVID-19 in the non-oil export sector. And so that grant was administered to exporters, and the effect of that grant, or the cumulative effect of that grant, is what we are seeing today. That's just part of it. And of course, you are aware that in February this year, we kick off the Export for Survival campaign and sensitizing Nigeria on the need to export or to go into non-oil export. And of course, we had several interventions programs. We had the seminars, workshops, and of course, a program called Go Global, Go Certification. That program essentially is to curb the incessant rejects of our products abroad. And what that means is that if you don't get the necessary certification, our product or your product may not be accepted internationally. So we took the initiative and identified key exporters that lacked those certifications, like HACCP, Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point, and kosher, halal, and FDA if you want to export to the United States. So we brought up those exporters together and paid for their certification, and of course they went into export. I'm sure a cumulative effect of all those factors gave us what we have today. And 2.5 billion US dollars from January to June this year, the highest in 4 years. And I'm telling you now, from the pre-shipment inspection reports we are receiving right now, the figures are going higher on a daily basis. At the end of the year, we're also going to give submit a report of the non-performance, non-oil performance for this year, and I'm sure Nigerians will be shocked at the figures we're going to get.
Okay, while we look at the figures, let me just jump the gun. A lot of people will say, well, till this point, we don't see income from non-oil exceeding the oil income despite the performance. How would you be reacting to that?
No, but you see, this is a gradual process. This is a gradual process. We are talking of non-oil export. There is need for Nigerians to imbibe the export culture, but this is a gradual process. You know, we've been depending on oil for a long time. Before now, oil was not the mainstay of our economy. It was non-oil export before now, until oil was discovered. You remember those times? I don't know. You remember those times where we had the granite pyramid in Kano, and of course the cocoa house, the biggest or largest skyscraper in Nigeria. It's a cocoa house, and it was built by the president of cocoa. And so that's the glory Nigeria had then, until we discovered oil. And oil now came as if it was a curse. What was a blessing was now a curse. And Nigerians, step back, are now dependent solely on oil. What we'll have done is to kind of manage our oil resources and use our oil resources to vary into non-oil export. We didn't do that. And so that is where we are today. But we're trying to change the trajectory. We're trying to change the narrative. We're trying to change the way we think and the way we do things. And that's why we've been talking on non-oil export as a means of economic survival of Nigeria.
Okay, what is the export culture for Nigeria like?
Now, I must confess that our export culture is not where it ought to be. What is an export culture? An export culture, like any other culture, is where a country or a people imbibe some kind of values on a particular thing, those values, the way they behave, the way they do. An export culture is where we reach a point where our non-oil export surpasses our oil export, where our foreign exchange generation is far higher than any other thing. That's an export culture, where almost everybody thinks of export. But right now, our export culture is very low. I'm saying that, and I'm comparing it with other countries. If you see smaller countries like Singapore, their volume of export is so high. And let me tell you this, the truth is that no country survives without export. Most countries, most of the developed countries, check them out, Google them. You realize that their mainstay, the main thing that is driving the economy, that is bringing in foreign exchange, is export. And we believe in this, and that's why we are embarking on this campaign.
Okay, so while we look at the campaign, we are having the private sector advocate that for Nigeria to properly take her position with the AFCFTA. It must implement a private sector bill or rights to enhance ease of doing a business. There's a whole lot of concentration on how we can export successfully without having most of the hitches people tend to experience. How realistic is that?
Well, I don't know how realistic is that, but what I do know is that ease of doing business is very key to any country or any society. If there's no ease of doing business, chances are there'll be a clock in the wheel of progress in terms of business. And once there's no business, people will not survive economically. And you can see the federal government already, President Buhari, there's this executive order 01, and the executive order 01 was purely on ease of doing business, and a step was taken further by PEBEC, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. They took a step further and they initiated what we call the Omnibus Bill, and that's the Business Facilitation Bill. The essence of that bill is purely on ease of doing business, and the main crux of that bill is they've identified about 23 various laws that are inhibiting ease of doing business, and that bill has been taken to the National Assembly. Those laws are going to be amended. One of those laws is the Export Prohibition Act. You won't believe it that that act prohibits the export of certain commodities or products. one of them is rice. And so, yes, one of them is rice, surprisingly right, but one of them is rice. So, but you have to go back to the history to understand why that act was enacted. It was enacted, I think, around 1986, when we had shortages, when there was need for food security, and that was when that act was enacted.
But if we are prohibiting the export of rice, then the revolution is for...
But that's exactly what it is, and that's why we need to amend some laws. There are some laws that are inhibiting non-oil export, and these are some of those laws. And so the ease of doing business, we've identified those laws in tandem with PEPEC, and the bill is before the National Assembly for amendment. And what that means is that once that law is amended, it will be, once it is amended, those issues will be completely eliminated.
Okay. So, where will be the place of integration in trade and business facilitation? You're already speaking about some of those things, but if it's breaking news to people like me, then a whole lot of people out there need this information.
Yeah. Okay, in terms of integration, trade integration is basically economic integration. And economic integration has to do with where two states as in two countries, coming together and identifying some barriers to trade and eliminating them. That's basically what trade integration is all about. And so, as a country, there have been several efforts that have been done to ensure economic or trade integration. One of the key ones I need to mention is the African Continental Free Trade Area, which Nigeria is a signatory. And if that free trade is implemented, I am telling you, Nigerian goods are going to penetrate most of these African markets. And when we talk about exports, it doesn't matter whether the goods are going to Ghana or Niger, as long as we go to foreign exchange. People have this wrong impression that when they say export, it has to go to the European Union, it has to go to America or Asia. No. If you can export your goods to Benin, if you can export your goods to Ghana or Niger Republic, these are our neighbors, right? Or even Cameroon or anywhere, as long as we get the foreign exchange, that is what we want.
Okay, so what do you intend to achieve by the end of this week, and what is your target for the close of 2022?
Now, what we intend to achieve, by the way, the week started yesterday, the export week. This is the maiden week. This is a maiden edition of the export week we're having. We've never had it before, and so we have a lineup of activities. It started yesterday with the formal launch of the Export for Survival campaign. That launch was, performed by the Honorable Minister, His Excellency Otumba Nia Debayo, the Foreign Honorable Minister. That was very key for us. It was very key because what it means is that the minister is the representative of the Mr. President. What that means to us is that Mr. President came in person and launched our Export for Survival campaign. That's the implication, because with the minister there, the sky is the limit. So we started with that launch yesterday, and of course tomorrow is going to continue with other programs, essential program and seminars and workshops. But the key thing on Thursday is that we're inviting women and youths, because we are making massive recruitment into the export net. What we are telling Nigerians is that, see, there is money in export. There is good business in export. Come and export. So we have on Thursday, the women and the youths, we are having a program for them. But one key thing is that we are going to give certificates to about 101 various firms or SMEs that we have paid. We have sponsored and paid their various certification. And so what that means is that their products are now certified. They can export to anywhere in the world without the fear of their products being rejected. We are doing that on Thursday. And as we are giving those certificates, we are also giving letters of approval to about 150 other SMEs. We are also taking up the challenge, and we are going to also ensure that their various products are going to be certified by various certifying bodies. Now, on Saturday, that's the climax of the event, we are going to have for the first time a gala night and an export award night. We've identified various exporters that have done incredibly well in the export space. And so we are going to award them, we are going to recognize them, and we are going to have a wonderful time with them. Why are we doing this? We are doing this to raise the consciousness, to imbibe and sustain an export culture. By the way, the theme of this week is imbibing a sustainable export culture in Nigeria. So this is the lineup of the programs for the week.
Okay, so before I let you go, something just came to my mind that the bulk of our young persons actually who are doing export, they are exporting mainly arts and of course in the tech industry. Do you have any program with them?
Yes, we have a program with them. We have a division called Export of Services. Export of Services, and that's where we take up those kind of young people that we're talking about. I mean, the creative industry, the music, Nollywood. As I'm talking to you, we're working very closely with some key Nollywood stars. We took them to Gambia, by the way. We took them to Gambia. We took a musician to Gambia. I mean, one of our key musicians to Gambia. Of course, we organized the first ever solo exhibition in Gambia. It was a collaboration between the Nigerian Export Promotion Council and SMEDAN, a sister agency. So, and we took our Nollywood stars there. We also took a key musician there, and they performed. And of course, Gambia stood still, because you think you look down on Nigeria, go out there to these African countries, and when you see Nigerians there, they see us as something else, because the streets of Gambia were literally closed because of this Nollywood stars. I never had an idea that our Nollywood stars were as popular as that. So, but coming from that, there and then, we got contacts, we got orders were generated, but one of the Nollywood stars were also contacted to train the Gambians on acting. He's not going to train them for free.
Of course.
It's money. And for God's sake, the money is not going to be naira. The money is going to be dollars.
And they'll pay taxes.
And of course, they will pay taxes. And of course, better revenue for government. So, these are some of the things we're doing. So, we have an export division for export for services that is catering for the creative industry and the young ones, fintech, and
because that was Dr. Ezra Yakusak there. But we move on. A Chinese company with footprints in Nigeria is building an agriculture industrial zone in Abia State to boost jobs and commerce. At the signing ceremony in Abuja, Diego Tian, chief representative of Power China in Nigeria, said the project will include crops, planting and processing plants for rice, cassava, cashew nuts and related products.
Found out that NNPC is no longer yielding money, so we need to find a new road to external money to come into Nigeria, and we are doing everything possible to assist the federal government. This is not federal government project, but I hope in future.
Well, 2 years later, that will highly boost Nigeria self-sufficiency in food security to its citizens. Meanwhile, there will be at least 20,000 jobs opportunity to be provided for the local employees.
And from there, we move to surviving COVID-19.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
My name is Blessing Samson. I saw electrical parks, just as you can see. Just for a while now. During the COVID lockdown, I noticed that everywhere was shut down, like no business moving, even all the street, nobody were moving around the street. But I think right now everything is fine. Thank God. Very, very well. Like everything has increased. Everything, including foodstuffs, everything has increased. For the business, I think I make sales here. Because when there was COVID-19, everywhere was shut down, nobody was coming out to get something. But right now, due to everything is cost, not everybody that is really buying it, but those who need it desperately, they still get it. Things are fine right now, we thank God, but it's more expensive than before. Yeah. If I were to get the CBS loan, I will go to the market, buy stuff. If I will even have the chance, I will even open another shop than this one, add to this one, and then I will employ some people just to be working for me.
Well, Well, Nigerian stocks are on steroids, but let's take a trip to the global market scene.
Minutes from the November meeting signal that the central bank is seeing progress in its fight against high inflation and is looking to slow the pace of rate hikes. This set the pace for global markets for Thursday as European markets head for a mixed open on Thursday morning as investors access the latest meeting minutes from the US Federal Reserve. Markets in Asia Pacific traded higher. Nikkei gained 0.95%, Shanghai Composite 0.22%, while the Hang Index traded negative. US stocks closed higher Wednesday in a choppy session as meeting minutes from the Federal Reserve show that the central bank is looking to hand out smaller rate hikes in the coming months as inflation cools off. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened with a 95.96 points rise this Thursday. S&P 500 gained 0.59% and the Nasdaq Composite increased 0.99% to 11,285.32. For African stocks, no figures as at the time of this report. Boss said the able Business Express.
And that wraps this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us. Do send in all your comments, questions, suggestions, and observations. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTS channel. Do join us again just tomorrow at 3 p.m. for another package. My name is Leah Katung Babatunde saying have a wonderful day and God bless Nigeria.
Although social media as a channel